Oh, okay, it's freezing over here. The steam wasn't on. Where's the chumash? Go to chumash. Okay. Oh, I find bar. What had told you no? No, water. I didn't have the steam on here, so now ocean is lighting. There wasn't supposed to be light. It changed the last minute. Baruch Hashem. Maybe for the share, they should open light. Okay, where's Mishpatim? Okay, so see, Mishpatim is a very solid parsha through and through. Before I start, I just want to be I, I was watching by my parents, Dave Shelf and Langi Yoden. I've made best from both of them. Simcha Nachas Gesundheit. Uh, I went to visit my parents for a week. So right before I went to the airport to come back here to Lvov, uh, literally yesterday, my cousin Yitzi Ball, famous Yitzi Ball, the composer, the singer, the player, the New York Boys Choir, the whole 9 yards. One of the most qualified mashpiyim, rabbeim, mechanchim, and as well as a genie into music and a composer. He falls in four parts of a song in like in one time. That's a genius. The kidsa. So he called my father to say hello, his uncle. My father said, I'm here. So we spoke, and he reminded me that today or tonight, Gedenk Shanish, is his father's yahrzeit. My father's older brother, only brother, Reb Shol Reb Tzvi. Um, what a special man was Reb Shol. Maybe I'll end off with the story of Shol. Okay, if I remember. So let the share be l'schusay. Okay. And also the yard site is coming up, I think it's Shabbos Chav Zayin of our Zaida, the Tvur Shor, for his chus also. Okay, so let's start. Bez Hashem, Parshas Mishpatim. So Mishpatim is a very solid parsha. Mishpatim is something that it's supposed to encapsulate, it's supposed to incorporate the whole Aseret Hadiris, the whole Torah. It's like the first step. Like after marriage, what's your first step? There was the chuppah, Shavuos was the chuppah, fine. What are you going to do till Sukkot, till the Cheder Yichud Sukkot? What's the first step? How do you encapsulate the whole event? What are you taking? It's like there's in English. What's the takeaway from this word, from this parsha, from the lesson? What's the take? What are you taking with you in life? That's mishpat, and it's telling what it starts with. It starts evidivri. Why would they start evidivri? It doesn't make sense. So and then the parsha ends up with Nasa v'nishma. Why didn't you do Nasa v'nishma right by Parshas Yisro where it happened? Why do you wait until after Mishpatim to say Nasa v'nishma? What's the nafkaminas between the Nasa and the and the Nasa v'nishma from between Yisro and Mishpatim? And why would Jews call say Nasa v'nishma? It's not logical to say Nasa v'nishma. You want to be a qualified consumer. You want to be educated consumer. Why do you just close your eyes and just take whatever they give you? Why don't you pick and choose? So the 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 So let me start off with the concept of Evid Kanani, Evid Ivri, and where what's this whole concept and why is this so important? Rashi says ve is and ve'ele moisval rishoy. That means just like everything Hashem said, the Ten Commandments, Sinai, that's the Bein Adam Lamokim, sort of the interaction with Hashem. Although there's five dibris, the 5 second dibris, parallel to the first dibris is Ben Adam L'Chameir. But Mishpatim is going to sort of elaborate, but it's going to encapsulate it. It's going to give a takeaway. This is what you should take away. And Rashi says, just like that's me Sinai, not from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Dafka Sinai. I think we said last week the word Hashem is Sinai Bo. The concept of Sinai, the concept of Sinai is the concept that Hashem wants to be with you. And if you're not so haughty, you're not so full of yourself, you're not so full of baloney, you're not pretending that you did it when you didn't. You don't take credit when credit is not due. When you give credit to credit is due to, then Hashem can be he can be loaded b'model echad. He can live with you in one space, in one in one encapsulation. So the concept of Sinai, which is the whole concept of Anova, what's Anova? Being real. What's it real? What's reality? Truth. Seeking truth. And Yisro was a truth seeker. And he ended up in the right place because he was a truth seeker. Ultimately, if you're a truth seeker, you'll get to the truth, hopefully, with Hashem's help. So whose truth was this? He was seeking Hashem's truth with a lot of humility. He could have been a big knocker out there in the world. And he humiliated himself and submitted to Hashem's reign, to Hashem's, Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, Hashem Yimlech. Hashem is now a Melech in the difficult times. Hashem Melech he was, Hashem Yimlech he will be. But I'm accepting the situation now, although it's not a lot of fun sometimes, although it's not so much covered, although you're being hated because you're connected and you're extension of Hashem because you're carrying His name. But Hashem Melech, nevertheless, that's commitment, that's dedication, that's devotion. So you take that humility, which is the foundation of humility is truth, is reality. The foundation is anova. When you don't you, when you believe, when you trust, you say it's rightfully so. I just don't know why. I don't know why at the shorter end and he's gaining every time and she's gaining, but I believe that there is justice. Just I'm not privy to the justice, and I'm not looking to be privy to the justice because of Yenevelt you see justice. I'm not rushing it to Yenevelt. So when you take this anova, then you can bring it back to this parsha and try to peek into what's the yisoid of this parsha, and it's the yisoid of all yisoides. If you want to say this parsha in one expression, don't be chav lacherim. And now, how do you express it? And this is maybe the main point of the whole parsha. The question is, is the Eibishter only a melech to you, or is a avarachma? What's the difference between Hashem melech and avarachma? What's the difference between, because a eved, if you're eved, if it's mikedai, I'll hold you on the job. If it's not kedai, if you don't bring value to my business, you take a tree. Are you in love with the tree? Of course not. You're in love with the fruit that the tree produces. And if you don't produce trees, I'm sorry, I'll replace you with a tree that does produce fruits. If there's no value to, you're not bringing anything to the company, why do I have to hold you at the company? Why do I have to keep you here, Bechlal? So the Eved, the concept is the Eved. If you're serving me well and it's worthy for me, I'll let you stay and I'll keep you and so on and so forth. I'll invest in you. But the second you're not worthy anymore, I'm saying go find a different job. I can. If you have nothing to do, don't do it here. If you're not devoted, you're not dedicated to the job, to the company. You're not bringing any prosperous, perspective to the job. I mean, why would I invest in the future? You're not the future. And somebody's not the future. They lose their value and goodbye, Charlie. What's the difference between Avarachim? Between that and Avarachim? Avarachim, you're my child. You mess up, you're a failure. You're my child. I don't get rid of you. You're my child. So the concept of Eved is that if you mess up, you blew it and you're gone. And the concept of Avarachim. Now, what is Hashem towards us? If we put him as a melech, then it'll be melech, will be David. If we put him as Overachman, the primarily function is Overachman. So even if we mess up, he doesn't give up on us. And if he doesn't give up on us, the whole approach is totally different. The approach is love, the approach is care, the approach is don't embarrass him more than you have to. You don't cripple him. Don't. So how do you know how much to embarrass him? So the Torah says. So the Torah is. One second. One second. Sorry, breathing here. So the Torah says you have a case of arba v'chamish. You stole tvochoy mechori, you slaughtered the animal or you sold it. It's not in your possession anymore. You can't give it back. So there's a knas, 4 or 5, or sure, or ox. You get 5. In other words, he has to pay you back 5 times, and a seh only 4 times. What does the Torah say? So the Gemara says a few pshatos. The pshat that everybody knows, every kid hears it in every cheder, is because the seh, if he wants to steal a seh, so he runs and grabs a seh, and he steals that seh, and the shepsel, the sheep, and but the sheep does is a action, so he has to pick it up and run with it. The fact that he's to run like a ganav in the street carrying the seh, that's bushes and charpers, and therefore he's sort of they waver. One of the times, instead of giving 5 times the amount you stole, you only pay 4 times the amount you stole. Versus a shor, you can't schlep. Okay, question. If you're trying to protect, he shouldn't have bushes. So the Gemara says, that you have to mutter. So in other words, if you make somebody turn somebody pale white, you have no chelik nolam baba. You don't have a share to the world to come. And if you're talking about mutter, the Gemara says mutav. It's better to throw himself, to throw himself in the furnace, the firing, burning furnace, and don't shame somebody, don't embarrass somebody. So that's, in other words, you mutav to burn yourself, to put yourself to death, and don't embarrass somebody. And the question is, here you're embarrassing him. I mean, he's going through embarrassment. If he steals and you give him a knas, that's embarrassment. If he steals and you're telling him, a waiver, we'll give you one fifth less of a knas. But it's a bush and a sarpa. You take somebody, you sell him as slavery. It's a bush and a sarpa. The teretz is a person tells us how to respect him. A person tells us how much to respect him or her. The way you respect yourself, if you act without dignity, if you act like a low person, you're going to be treated like a low person. You give the vibes, and according to the vibes you give out, and what you promote, and yet what you imbue into the atmosphere, that's what people react to. So if you act like a classy, regal, royal person, you get accordingly. You get treated accordingly. And some people don't chap, but the regular Hamoinam, the vast majority get it, more or less. They get it. They see what you want to. It's like, what do you want to show us? What do you want to display? Whatever you display, that's accordingly. You display something that's important, that's dignified, something is purposeful, something that you're bigger than this little pettiness. Then you'll be treated accordingly. So if a person says, "By me, the whole said, the whole bush," in other words, I'm willing to go through embarrassment on the street, in the bazaar, in the market. Hundreds, if not thousands, people will see me running with a sheep like a ganav of the gun of Brent the Hittel, right? It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious you're running your kishkas away from somebody because they shouldn't catch you. So the question is, if you say that one shepsel, one sheep is worth your whole embarrassment, so you're telling the Torah that you're only getting -1. In other words, you only have to pay 4 times the amount, not 5 times. Otherwise, the Torah would say you don't have to pay anything because it's such embarrassment. You're being embarrassed, but you're telling the Torah that for once I would do it. For one sheps, I would embarrass myself. The same goes with all the mitzvahs. The same goes with all the whole behavior. And for the better or for worse, the way you treat yourself, that's the way people treat you. And if you are willing to, if by you the Judaism is worthless, a little joke, a little lashon hara, a little embarrassing somebody's shul because you came up with this brilliant sense of humor, and you got to tell everybody of Yenim's cheshbon. So by you, the ganze davening kennst nicht anhalten. I mean, you can't. I had to say it in Hebrew to say Zabali ad lepo. It came to me. I had to give it out. I couldn't hold myself back, and I couldn't refrain. And if you couldn't, so your whole davening is worth how much you gave it. You gave a rating for your davening that it's all worth. The whole davening is only worth one little joke because for that little joke. You disturbed the whole daven. You couldn't care less. You talked the middle of talking today, but the in middle of the most important parts because you had that thing to so in other words to get a little attention is worth more than you davening or your mitzvahs. You're basically telling everybody how much your mitzvahs are worth, and then later you come tinus, but you don't consider your mitzvahs worth. You're telling Shemayim how much your mitzvah. It's me to connect me. Okay, so if you're so worried about his bushes, well, I'm not worried more than he's telling us to be worried. So coming to Evet Canaan. Evet Kanani is like a possession. Unfortunately, uh, the Torah didn't tell you don't be Evet Kanani. The Torah didn't tell you don't sell yourself. The Torah didn't tell the boss the master that buys you don't buy you. The Torah says this is a reality. I can't change the reality. I mean, there was a lot of slavery going on. The Torah puts certain conditions that you should say, "Oive kono evet kono rabbi." If you bought a slave, you actually bought a master, and Salonica is not worth it, and so on and so forth. So let's go into this parsha of Eved Ivri versus Eved Kanani. Eved Kanani is sort of your possession. I mean, it's he's not worth a lot. If he brings you to Ellis, he brings you let's say value or profit, whatever it is, then you'll keep him. Otherwise, what's the point? So you have Eved Ivri. The Torah says no. Eved Ivri is something else, a whole different story. So let's go. What is the Eved Ivri? Eved Ivri is somebody that stole sort of a low life. He goes and steals somebody else's. I toiled, the guy worked hard, the guy invested, and you go in one fell swoop and you bam, you took it away, and he's oive, what happened to where, what, when? You couldn't care less. You needed it. So what'd you do with it? I don't know, I blew it. So you don't have money to pay back? No. So what do you do now? Well, you have to sell them. The question, who wants to buy a Ganav and bring the Ganav home? I'm trying to put bars at the windows with alarm systems and doors and three locks and locks from all four sides. And I want to bring the Ganav in my house? Of course not. So what's pshat? There can't be pshat. The pshat is that the Torah says, why did he steal? He's missing the values of he's not mechunach, he doesn't have the values of a civilized person. He doesn't understand, he doesn't appreciate the enemy's hard work, labor, all the difficulties and hardships that come along with a regular livelihood and whatnot, just running a regular family house. And he doesn't appreciate. That means he doesn't appreciate life. He doesn't appreciate people. So what does the Torah say? Let's find a family that's functional family. They're well balanced. They regulate their nerve system. They regulate their emotions. They don't go all out there. All the cannons go off. No, they control themselves. And he'll be in their house and he'll see and he'll learn how to control himself. He'll learn how to fight off his knowledge of pettiness. He'll learn how to appreciate people. They'll teach him, and hopefully they will. And okay, so now the guy goes into the house and has a lesson, a life lesson, and he comes into the house. After 6 years, you tell him, "I'm sorry." Only 6 year period. After that, he goes free. And what happens if he doesn't want to go free? So there's a process. But first, let's start. You get 6 years. In this 6 years, it's sort of 6 days of the week. You work it out, and after that, you're supposed to be up to the level of Shabbos. You're supposed to prepare for the Shabbos. V'shov sodas Shabbos Hashem. You prepare for the Shemitah. You prepare for the 7th year. You prepare for the Shabbos and sabbatical year. It's something you come to you back to your neshama. You come to yourself and you chapsach, where am I? What am I? Why? What is it all for? Who am I representing over here? Who am I working for? And so on. When you come to that level, then the guy can go and run a regular life, like human beings should be able to. Right. So now it comes Sheish Shonim Yavod Uvashvi Yetzel Shechin. In begapa yovi begapa yates. If he comes himself, he goes out himself. Balishu v'yotzi. What's shot over here? He goes in himself, he goes out himself. What does that mean? That means that Odin is allowed to give him a Shifcha Kananis, and he marries the Shifcha Kananis, and then she has children, and he leaves by himself. In other words, he doesn't take the Shifcha and the children with him. So he invested, let's say, 6 years, and now he has a family, established family, and he leaves it. He can't marry a shivcha kananis at his master's house if he's not married before. He has to be married. He has his own family. Now he can go and marry the shivcha kananis. Why? Because the Torah does't want him to stay in it by the shivcha kananis. The Torah wants him to go back home to regular life. That's the whole point. It's not a jail. It's not a place just to punish you. It's to teach you and rather to train you. So now you're going back to your normal life to your wife. If you don't have a wife to go back to, you're going to want to stay. So the Torah doesn't want you to stay. He wants you to get on to real life. So the Torah says it's just a training, event of 6 years, and it's a training course, and then you go back to your wife. Okay. Here's a big question. I want to get a little deeper. The Gemara says, we said it once in the Shurim. The Gemara says a mamzer, you could be, I think, but in Dvarim when we spoke about Le'yovi mamzer b'kal Hashem, but the Gemara says that we can sort of indirectly take care of the mamzerim, the pata de mazerim. How? The Gemara says if you take a mamzer, Le'yovi b'kal Hashem, he's not going to get married to the Jewish nation, but he could do is ever. Only after Mashiach comes and there's but verses Amoinim Yavi Ad Oilam by Mamzer it says Gamdor Yasir, that's never. But after Mashiach over there it says Ad Oilam Amoinim Yavi even after Mashiach comes. But the point is that a Mamzer cannot intermarry into the Jewish nation. What could he do? He could marry a Shivcha Kananis. Then the Odin, the master, the children that came out of Shivcha Kananis, he frees the children and they become regular Jews, right? Like Gerim. So that's the only redemption he could do. The question is, how's he allowed to marry a Shivcha Kananis? In other words, he's going to go and sell himself. And once he sells himself, he's allowed to live with a Shivcha Kananis. But we just said, according to the Gemara Rashi, that if he comes without a wife, he's not allowed to marry Shivcha Kananis. He has to be married before. A mamzer can't be married. Who's going to marry him? So why could a mamzer? And the teretz is that we just now said 2 minutes ago. The reason why you want him to have a wife before he enters in his master's house and marries the Shifra Kananas, so he should go back to normal life. Mamzer will never go back to normal life. He never had a life to begin with because nobody can marry him. He can't get married to anybody. So therefore, over here, the Mamzer, we're not going to prohibit him from marrying a Shifra Kananas. He could, because he doesn't have the reason that he's going to want to stay and he's not going to want to go back. He has nobody to go back to. So he's allowed to marry a Shivcha Kananis and have children, and if you free them, that gives him Yiddish Adoiris. Okay. Sort of an indirect way, but like beating the system, but that's all you have. So in Begapa Yovi Begapa Yetzi. In Balishu Vyotzi Ishteva. Now let's say he has it fine. He has it good. Where are we up to? Mishpatim. Yeah. Vim Omoir I like my master, I like my wife, I like my children. I don't want to go out free. He takes him to Bezdin. He takes him to the mezuzah. He makes a hole in his ear. Rashi says, Oizen Shamas. So why the ear? That's a different thing. Maybe we'll go in, maybe not, but I don't know. Right now, I want to just, mention this. You take him to the Delos Oila Mezuzah. Why Mezuzah? What's Mezuzah over here? So I want to go into this noise abyss. Where does Eved come from? What's the concept of Eved? Where does Eved come from? So Chazal teach us that when Noach came out of the teva and he was totally distraught, so he took wine and it became shikar, and now he was laying there and he wasn't totally covered, and Chum saw that, and Chum did what he did. So Chazal say shame. The Gemara says shame because shame covered his father, his initiative. He gets to cover his Einiklach with tzitzis and so on. Yefes helped him out, but it wasn't his initiative. He just schlepped along. So he gets to cover himself after Goy Gemogg, Melchemes Goy Gemogg. They'll be able to be covered by the ground, in other words, buried. But Chum was Misaris, his father, right? He was jealous that, what do you mean? That we have to divide the whole world into three? Everybody gets a third of the world. Shem Chum Yavis, everybody gets a third. And now, what, his father's going to have more children, populate the land, and he'll have to share it with everybody else. He wasn't willing. So he was Misaris, his father. Now there's no more children happening. It will be only three and no more. Three is too much for Chum. He's jealous. He doesn't want anybody in his way. He doesn't want any competition. But if you have to have three, at least three and not more. What was the problem with Chum? Besides that he did such a terrible thing. The main problem with Chum is that he doesn't think about Yenet. There's no concept of anybody else in the equation. There's nobody in the radar. There's nobody in the parameter of Chum's palace or Chum's stage. He's on top of his game. He's on top of the world. And get off my stage, get off my lawn, get off my road. Why are you creating traffic for me? Who are you, Bichlal, in my little world? So the whole concept of Chum is that he can't stand if there's somebody there. That means I have to think about you, about my partner, about somebody else. That is the whole brach of Chum, and that's the brach of what produces Eved. It says Eved avodim yelechov. He should be slave of slaves to his brothers, and also v'yitznan Eved lomoy, right? Baruch Elokim, Baruch Elokei Shem. What's the lashon here? Yeah. Let's go to Noach. Baruch Hashem Elokei Shem, v'yichnan Eved Lomei. Let benches Dave should blessed is Hashem, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be Eved to him. What's pshat of him? If you think only about Zich, you're going to be Eved. What does the Eved do? Eved has to think about his master. Eved can't think about his own interest. Eved's interest is only somebody else's interest. That's the Mida Keneged Mida. So if you go and you ganva, you steal Yenim, he worked so hard, he put up a business, and you stole the whole thing, you crashed his whole show, you mamish either Gnevis Das or Gnevis mom and possessions, whatever it is, the same concept is true, not only by Eved, that a Ganav that had to sell himself to Eved. You went and you couldn't care less about Yenim's toil. You couldn't care less about Yenim's accomplishments and investment and time and effort, and you just stole the whole thing in one shot. And the guy is broken. He's totally tzibrochim, and he doesn't know what hit him. And you couldn't care less. You take that money, blow it. There's no value to what somebody did. In other words, you don't have the slightest guilty conscience. You don't care about Yenim. So Hashem says, you don't care. We're going to give you a training. So what is the training? To go deeper. What is the training? Training to care about Yenim, not to harm somebody else emotionally, psychologically, financially, physically, and so on. Don't steal Yenim's show, Yenim's time, Yenim's project, Yenim's business, Yenim's idea, whatever it is, don't steal it. Don't cause him harm and financial harm, physical harm, emotional harm, spiritual harm, whatever it is. Don't steal. And if you steal, you're going to be Eved Loma, you're going to be a slave, because I'm going to train you in how to think about somebody else, totally somebody else, and not you. So now we come, you have to take him to the mezuzah. Why mezuzah? Mezuzah, machloek is either vertical or horizontal, or the vertical standing, horizontal lying down. So we have the mezuzah in the middle. I don't know if everybody does it. That's the way I grew up. I don't know. We have to ask the other Eidos HaMizrach how they have it. I think I saw other times they had it straight, whatever it is. But the point is that why on a slant? Because when you go into the house, the rabbis say you need a pshara. That's why you're taken to the mezuzah. You tell them by the mezuzah is the door and the mezuzah. Before you walk into any house, you have to think about somebody else. It's not only about you. There's somebody else in the equation, not only yourself. Okay, so now let's get back to the first kasha. Why start with Eved? Well, Eved is something, first of all, talking about don't be complicated, don't hurt others. And Eved is telling you, think about somebody else. That's the ultimate foundation, the takeaway of Benodem Lachaveiroi, after Matan Torah, the second luchais, second of the two luchais, the left one. But the five last, the dibris, utterances. But there's more than that. There's some people, the perfect guys, the tzaddikim, they won't tolerate this. But I'm not from those. I don't know. I don't belong to that society. So so I love this story. I mean, I don't know how many times I said it, but how many decades I said it, but I think it fits right in here. If you have a sick child and they need treatment, they need operations, they need to go overseas or whatever it is, who are the parents gonna take care of? The rest of the family, or they're gonna leave the rest of the family with babysitters and other people and family and friends, and they're gonna travel and they're gonna go to doctors and sit by the bedside day and night and so on. Of course, it's not even a shaila. So Hashem says, "Who am I going to take under my tutelage? Who am I going to take under my knopf of my wings? I have to take the shvachenka, not the tzaddik. You see, they have the yeshivas mitzuyanim. Why mitzuyanim? Because I'm not bad mouthing anybody, but there are enough that don't know what chinuch is. I mean, b'chlal, b'chayayim, they verstehen nicht what chinuch is. I don't care how many books they read. They just don't get it. They don't get it. What a simple grandmother in the village that she saw right through the kid, and a simple grandfather, Amoliga people that they had no medical knowledge and no psychological knowledge, and they were so right on. They chopped the matzah right on. And you have a guy who wrote 10 books on psychology. He doesn't know what's flying. He doesn't read the room well. He doesn't read the people well. He gets it all wrong. He puts every person in his skewed assumption. There are some good ones out there, but you have to look for them. You have to really look for them. So I'm not bad mouthing anybody, but clearly I'm not one of them. But many. So I'm not. I don't want to go run. I don't want to rant and rave. But the point is, you take the person that needs the most attention. You take the person that's craving and he needs help and he needs assistance and he needs a shadow to help him out in class. You take those people and the Torah says the first thing you want to know, what's the first thing after Parshas Yisro? The first thing is you take that person and you function on the Schwachenkas. So the Mitziyonim, the yeshivas that want only mitzionim, we have to question. Some of them are good, but we have to question them. Are you taking mitzionim because you ruin everybody around you? You don't let them live. You don't let them think critical thinking for themselves. You don't let them open their minds, learn how to learn. Yeshiva is not made to learn. Yeshiva is made to learn how to learn. That when you walk out of yeshiva, you learn for the rest of your life, and you know how to learn and teach somebody else. If you don't teach that, I don't care what kind of beautiful shir you gave. You have to show them how to learn how to stop when you read a newspaper. I'm talking about a kosher newspaper. You should stop bein lines, bein advarim, bein ashuris. What are they saying? When somebody talks to you, what is he really saying? Not what a drake-up. What is he really saying? What is his body language saying? What's the word of it? How to stop the whole life, how to live a life and without harming others, without beating the system, just reading the room well. So you take a Mitzionim Bacher So when you ruin him, he stays, average, above average. Let me see, take the shvach and make something out of it. Let me see special education that you take the shvach and you bring him up to par. That's what Hashem's message is. Take. So here's the thing. Why Ganav? Why Ganav? The first thing, Yisiknev at Ivri Ganav, you have to sell him. We know why we have to sell him, because he has to come into training. People that know how to run a house, and they're going to teach him to be sufficient, to be appropriate, to be just to be civilized, just to get along with people without robbing them, to be beneficial to society. So there's a lot of munah bitochen involved in this training, and you can't steal yenims. And the point is that we understand that. But why Ganav right away? And here's the little story. The Baal Shem Tov, I think everybody knows the story, but maybe somebody doesn't. I'm going to say it quickly. The Baal Shem Tov has a little yasim that, Nebuch, he lost his father, not a penny in the house. He's very shrewd. He's very tiftik. He's absolutely so toiglech. I mean, this guy can. There's no such a thing, a door that's locked, a window that's locked. I mean, a safe that's locked. Whatever there was in those times, he went right through it like with a butter knife. I mean, garnished. So this Moishele, its mother didn't have what to eat, and she would take him to yeshiva, not through the market, because he shouldn't see all the gewaldige fruits and the pastries and whatever there is. And she little old bread that the kitzah. So this Moishele, one day the mother was sick, and he went, the kitzah. He found his way and realized there's a whole Welt there. And he said, why does my mother have to suffer like that? Where's the yashris? Where's the righteousness of this universe? Where is the fairness of this universe? It's not just. Some have it all and some have nothing. I don't have what's going on there. And he felt he has to do something about it. And boy, oh boy, was he talented. I mean, in 1 second, he just, swapped off, here a bagel and there a fruit. And he comes home to his mother and he says, Ma, how you feeling? She said, did you make it to Seder today? He said, yeah, I found my way. You take him every time. He didn't tell he went through the other way. And he brought home, who gave it to you? Somebody, a present. Somebody was nice. And every day kept on, and his mother was in bed for a few weeks. And he kept on feeding her much better. And he brought her back to health. And his mother came out of the house. And then she realized that he gummed it. And she says, Moishle was gone. Why are you stealing? Why are you robbing? Oy vey. These old ladies, they work so hard. They stay up. They want to bake a few bagels, a few challahs, a few rolls, and a few pieces of cake, whatever, Danishes, and you're stealing it? The kid said, and she didn't know what to do. She went crying to the Baal Shem Tov and so on and so forth. The kid said Moishle started to steal a lot more. They called the police, they chased him, and he ran to the Baal Shem Tov. The Shem Tov covered up this little Yosemite. The only thing he said, why are you stealing from the Alta Babas? They're so poor. Why would you do that? Oh, Moshe cried, Taka, you're right, Rebbe. I will never do that again. If you can't hold yourself back, I'm telling you, I'll give you to eat. Come to me to eat every day. No, but still, it was very interesting for him. He, he's sort of doing it on his own. He doesn't have to get handouts, right? He's taking things into his own hands, if you know what I mean. You know. So the kids, so this Moishela listened to the Baal Shem Tov, and he goes and steals from the rich guys. They don't even chop he stole from them. Now, one groise knacker, some poets, whatever, comes and going to some palace over there, maybe the one out in the outskirts of Mezhebish, I don't know. And Moishele hears that now he needs a help, he needs assistance. The business now he's going to rake in millions of dollars of worth. He won't have to go steal these little petty nothings. So he needs help. So he got himself a ladder and needed help. He told help, I'll give you a nice amount if you come and put the ladder up, and I'll you hold the ladder, I'll run up. This poritz will be sleeping, so he put the ladder up. He unscrewed something, so when the poritz leaves his money in that room, he'll be able to have access, not through the door, and so on. And then he took the ladder away. It came at night, whenever it was. Yenitzer getrinken, and he was tired. And Moshe climbed up, got the whole sack of money, a lot of money. he held that ladder. He took away the ladder. He hears your shear, and he let the guy go. The next morning, Mezich from Moishele. Now, every time Moishele would steal the little, little here and there, he would run, and the Baal Shem Tov did an ace that the police could never find him. They knew Moishele the Ganav. Everybody knew Moishele the Ganav. But Moshe Zichmach, go look for me. You won't find it. But this time, he planned this for a few weeks, and this time he's not going to have to steal for a long time. The only problem is that, so this guy's anti-Semite, doesn't feel bad for him, and Baal Shem Tov wouldn't mind. He robbed taxes, overly taxed the Jews anyway. It's not his money. He had all the drushes worked out. The only problem is that the police and the FBI and everybody started to look for him in the army, the Groise Puritz. So he ran to Baal Shem Tov. The problem is Baal Shem Tov passed away. The Baal Shem Tov passes away, so he asked, "Who's the next big tzaddik?" And they showed him the Toldos Yaakov Yosef. And he goes to Toldos Yaakov, Rebbe, Rata, the police are after me. He says, "Why?" He says, "Because I stole a lot of money. Believe me, a lot of money, money that nobody ever saw that amount. A big sack of gold and diamonds." So so the Rebbe says, "Why'd you steal it?" Emotionally, the Ghana, you know who I am, but I can't. I figured this is once for a lifetime, and now I'm going to live a rich life. Why do I be the most poorest kid of the block? So they told the Siaka started to scream, "I don't know, get away, got what you want, go give back the money." But there you still. You don't believe in Hashem? Chilul Hashem Shen Kamoy, the kids, he started to reprimand him. And Moshe ran for his life. He was so scared, he ran. And he asked, where did they bury the Baal Shem? They said, what he buried? He buried the basic forest. He ran to the basic forest, asked, which is Baal Shem Tov's which is, it was all fresh. He ran over, fell down crying, Rebbe, Moshe Laganov here, Rebbe, how'd you leave me alone? Rebbe, it's not fair. You didn't tell me you're going. You went too early. You had to wait for me to steal this once in a lifetime opportunity, and then you left early, Rebbe. How is it you left your Moshe? I'm like your son, Rebbe. I don't have a father. You were my father. How did you betray me? How did you leave me when I need you more than ever in my life? And he cried himself to sleep. And in the sleep, he meets the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov comes to him and he says, Rebbe, you were the Rebbe of the Ganovim. Moshe Ganov also needs a Rebbe. The Ganovim, the people who fell apart, they didn't have the muscles. They tried again and again and they couldn't. They tried to get up again and again and they fall through. They need a Rebbe too. Rebbe, how'd you leave? You're the Rebbe. The other people, they don't want to be the Rebbe of the Ganovim. You were the only Rebbe Ganovim. How'd you leave? So the Baal Shem Tov tells him, Moshe, it's time that you stop with all the shenanigans. Moshe, I'm sending you to a Talmud of mine, a different town. He'll give you a derech tshuva, and you learn with him, and he'll hide you, and so on. And he told him where to go, which path. The police will go the other way, but while you go there. And he went there, the tshuva became a Erlich Yid, and so on and so forth. The Ibishter starts off Mishpatim. What's the takeaway? The first thing is a yeshiva not from Mitzionim. It's not Al Tashlichenu Milfanecha. It's not I throw you away like the dogs. It's not. It's the first thing is you take Moshe Laganov. You open. The other guys will make it in life. They'll make it without your share, with your share, with your yeshiva, without your share. They'll make it anywhere. But what about those who won't make it without you? Those are the people you start off mishpatim. That's what the Aseret Adibris, that's the takeaway from the Aseret Adibris. So you 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 no, so you learn the halachas of Eved and then Arba B'Chamisha and Vaita Genevis and Vaita covering up Yanim's Busha, and you tell him, I'm going to cover up the Busha as much as possible. So when it comes at home, I'm not going to treat you like an Eved. If there's one bed, he gets it. One portion, he gets it. One pillow, one blanket, one coat, one scarf, he gets it. One pair of gloves and boots, he gets it. When you have that, when you show him such respect, you tell him you took away Yenu's livelihood. So you're getting married and your kids, now you know what it feels like investing in a family and it's taken away from you. Yes, but not more than needed and with a lot of respect. So that's the nice of it. Oh, weiter. I want to say a few little things over here. Um, there, a little differences which it's not, maybe it's not taught. I want to show you a little, once in a lifetime. You should have these klolim. I think it's very important. Um, where we have to uh here. Okay, I'm skipping all of this. I'm skipping all of this. It says, Im anisana oisai, kol amon v'yosem loisana. Don't torture almana and yosem. Im anisana oisai, if you torturing, will you torture? Double lashon. Kim tzoki, he'll cry twice. Shemoy esh matzakosai. That's a standing that every yosem says, my father, and the wife, and the almana says, the widow says, if my husband would have been alive, they wouldn't torture me. If I would have a father, they wouldn't torture me. And the reason why I mentioned this not only about a Yosem and Almana. Every time you have a father that's not a big knaka, and he can't open his mouth, and if he'll go to the Moisid and complain to the Rebbe or whatever that somebody bullied, and he'll get Ibn Cup from the bully or from the Rebbe or from the Manal or from the Hasidus or Yeshiva or whatever it is, or the Rav, it's the same situation. Nobody, no, there's no, I don't care your Moshe Rabbeinu. Nobody has a right to abuse anybody. Nobody has a right. I don't care how big of a Rav, you can be the Av Bezdin 100 times. You can know Kol HaTorah Kula. It's worthless if you torture people. It's worthless if you look down. If you don't come Sinai and you come that you're better than everybody else, that Hashem says, I don't care how much you know. I don't want to be with you in one shul. I don't want to be with you in one room. But there's the ganze Rashkabag. Well, by Hashem, you're nobody. The second you torture somebody, the second, if somebody comes, I don't care if he's a sponsor, and I'm not saying that I'm clean. We all fall for sponsors. We all fall for sponsors because you haven't got to run the mice. But if you want to go to Lamita, what's the takeaway? The takeaway is don't be mavaze. If it's a sponsor's kid that's torturing somebody else and bullying and abusing and molesting somebody else, you got to do something about it. And if you don't do something about it, you failed the Moisid, you failed the Hasidus, you failed the Yeshiva, you failed Klal Yisrael, you failed Hashem. If you're in charge and that's not your first utmost value, of protecting, that's the first value of a leader. Protect your constituents, protect them from busha, protect them from bullying. That's got to be every drosha, every Shabbos, every Rosh Chodesh, every Yom Tov. That's going to be the Torah. The Torah's got to be based on that. And if it's that those values aren't the utmost values of your Moiset Chasidus, Yeshiva, Litvish, Ashkenaz, Sfarad, then the whole thing is a farce. It's a fake thing. Garnish mit garnish. That's the takeaway from Mishpatim. In Anisanoy Sitzoik Yitzakalai. The guy is being abused in your yeshiva and you don't care. You go to the Rebbe, does nothing about it. Now, what is the Rebbe supposed to do? The Rebbe. The parents don't care. The Hanola doesn't care. Somebody's got a sponsor. He's the sponsor's son. What are you going to do about it? So you have to start from the Gedola Ador. I'm not criticizing them; they have enough of a cup, but somebody's got to bring it to the attention. We need awareness. There was awareness of lashon hara. There was awareness of other. We have to bring this awareness of shidduchim. Not enough. It's got to be awareness about the bullying. Meret. Who's speaking about it? You should, that should be the thing that you throw out. You don't get a shidduch. You abuse. It's lo mikubal, not accepted. Nobody does something that's not accepted. Whatever's accepted, if Elamai, it's still accepted. The yeshiva has to close down. No yeshiva today. We sit shiva 7 days because somebody hurt somebody. I don't. All the parents have to sit. Don't close your job. If you have to go to Levi, this is worse than go close your job. Nobody should work. No, there should be shavisa. There should be a fast because somebody was hurt. And believe me, they'll stop it in 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds, but no, you've got to bring the awareness. And I hope there's somebody listening somewhere to somebody's drasha about this, and somebody stopping. What Sarah Schneer Chapman, she heard a drasha of a rabbi. She heard about Nachshon. Somebody should hear this nachshon and take the initiative and bring awareness to every Rav and Rabbi. This should be the ultimate. If you have a drasha without this, so you're missing the takeaway from the Har Sinai. Now, the next pasuk, I don't want to say what it says, what Hashem is going to do, chas v'shalom. Then it comes in Kesef Tal V'Sami. It's only imach. You want money to be malava you, that's drush, it's not pasuk pshat. But the pasuk pshat, lo yisile kenoishe, lo yisimnol of neshech. Don't take advantage. The guy he paid 29 years for his house and chas v'sholem foreclosure because he doesn't have money for the 30th year to pay the bank. They're going to take away his house, sell it for half the price to get their money, whatever they don't have. And that's it. The guy, and they have enough people jumping at the opportunity of somebody lost house and they buy it for cheaper. It's so painful. And the guy comes to you. He's not just he has 5 businesses and he wants to, he wants to you know, Luke, he wants to go in and get a tzedakah por. He has a few $1 million in the bank, but he still wants some more. And he says, "Lend me some money." Well, this is not the situation. The situation, it's a situation where the guy is mom in dire. He's choking. He doesn't know what to do. They're going to throw him out in the street. And he comes to you and you say, this guy's pretty desperate. He's crying his heart out. So let me see. I can schlep out 50%. Okay, for every $100, $150. What he's going to say, no, you ask him for $200 for every $100. He'll also say yes. He's so desperate right now. He can't think straight. So you're taking advantage. Hashem says, Ochenvei. Ein lechelik lo'elam habo, hamalva beribis. He's not, I don't know, he's not going to, the Gemara says he's not going to get it, but Kes HaMeis. Remember the story, I think it was Rabbi Kiva Eger, that the guy never, he was Malva Beribis, never gave tzedakahs, and then the Sefer Gadisha asked him uh, for a hefty sum, and he took him to court or whatever to the authorities, and they said, my high, and he said the Sefer Gadisha owns a plot of land, and they don't give it away, they don't sell it, they just rent it. We believe Chesed Mason is after tomorrow, very soon. So the people that have kvura there, they're buried just for a short while. But this guy is not getting up to Chesed Mason. He's Malva Berivis. He's taking advantage of the people in dire straight. So he's going to lie there forever. Oh, for the amount that they asked him, the $1 million they asked for that plot of land, has not even all that. It was not that much. It's not an awful lot of a sum for somebody that's going to be there forever. He's not getting up to Tchias Mason. The main point is don't take advantage. Don't take advantage. Don't take advantage when somebody has a weak moment. So it says weiter. Im chovel tachbos salmas recha. What's a salmas? Salmas is a clothing. It's a garb. It's an attire. It can be a dress. It can be a jacket. Ad boy Hashem when until the sun goes down, give it back to him. Now, why should I give it back to him? It's collateral. It's a mashkin. Zokta Torah. Ki hi chesutzoy. She, the clothing, is chesutzoy, his clothing. 1 second. The kri over here is the way you read it. Chesutzoy, his. That's male, masculine. The ksiv, how it's written with a hey, is chesuso, her clothing. Levado, it's also Lashon Nekeva because the clothing, not Lashon Nekeva. Isim losoi lo'oiroi. That's a similar to lo'oiroi. You said a second ago, salmas, seeing lamed is the second letter. Over here, sim losoi, the mem is the second letter, lamed is the third letter. So what's the difference between salmas and samlo or simlo? The difference, salmas is the pauper's rags mata. Similar is a beautiful dress or beautiful attire, beautiful beged garb. So the difference is the Torah says, you know why you have to give it back? Because for this pauper, they have nothing. And all they have is a shmata. This shmata for them is a simla. It's because they don't have anything better. They cherish it. They appreciate it. The Gemara says, who was it? I forgot. Rabbi Yehuda maybe. He was very poor, so he would go out. He would go out, either him or his wife, it was such a rag schmata, like a blanket type of schmata around, but it wasn't female or male. It was just a beggar good for men or for women. So they were allowed. There wasn't this silbash, a lady is not allowed to put on a man's clothes, and a man's not allowed to put a lady's clothes. So uh, uh, um um so you have kesusoi, his garb. That's the way you read it. Misusa is her garb because they're that poor that they don't have enough to go out at the same time. Either he goes out of the house or not. We had that. My wife always says the about the two sisters in our school. This is when in the 90s. When today they don't have such a situation. You have second hand, you have all sorts of handouts and so on. But Amol, it was mamish scarce, and she realized that only one sister of that family comes to school every day, somebody else. And she asked why. It's like you make up. And it turns out the parents were embarrassed, and they said they don't have one pair of boots. It's freezing outside, full of snow for weeks, and they don't have two pairs of boots. So my wife took care of the problem, but they couldn't come to school at the same time. I mean, for them, this is the most cherished possession. It's the only thing that can get them out of the house. So you want to take it away and not give it back? You have to give it back. They have nothing else. So the Salma versus Simla, two different words. One is the pauper, and in Mitzrayim you have Yishubaru also similar, simoles, right? Simoles, Rashi said it's more than gold. It's like probably had diamonds on it. It was very expensive, very, very cherished item. So Bameng Yishkav, what is he going to go to sleep with? What you kids are going to He'll scream, and I'm going to listen to Chananoni. The Midas Rachman is going to schrei Chai B'Kai. Not Midas Adin. Midas Rachman schrei more than Midas Adin. Midas Rachman says, how could you? How could you see that? When people take advantage, or people are careless, or they don't care. How could you see you're not garnish and still tap him the blood? And Hashem says, boy, oh boy, that's what don't play with me. Don't start with me. Achanvei. Okay, now here's also another difference. A few psukim later, I'm skipping, there's no time. Ki sivka shoyin oyivcha. You met, you found, it happened, random. So you randomly go on your way and you see the shor, the ox oyivcha from your enemy. Or his donkey. So yeah, lost. Hoshev tishvenu, give it back. Okay. Again, Hoshev tishvenu, that means a double lotion. That means there's a dogish there, right? There is a point of don't shy away. Make it your business. By all means, give it back. That means you started, you say, maybe, not going. No, no, no. Continue. Just get it done. See it through. I know you don't want to. Why don't you want to? It's a yifcha, it's an enemy. So you found something, give it back. Return it to the rightful owner. Next passage. You see the donkey of your enemy. The guy, the guy is your competition. I think I said it last year already in the share. If I didn't, I said it many times. He's your competition. He took away your job. He took away your client, your account. The taxis, they have their accounts with this moisid, with this businessman. And he took away your account. He says, I can serve you better. I have more benefits. He took away your account. Or for a second, you didn't look. He just grabbed the guy's items, put it in his trunk, said, come. Yeah, yeah, we work together. And he took away your job. And he's riding the highway. And then you found a client, nothing as good as that, interstate or intercity client that's going to bring you a few $100s for that trip. You have the small trip to the airport or something, and you see the guy broke down, and he got stuck. And you say, you see, karma, here you have it. Look, the guy was a low life, and Hashem paid him back right away. Instead of that, says the Torah, Oziv Tazivimai. What's Oziv Tazivimai? Oziv is leave it alone. Tazav, leave it alone. It should have said, Azor Tazir, Imoy. So Imoy, the Gemara says, it's got to be with them. If he says, hey, I'm sitting, smoking a cigar with his feet up, because you have a mitzvah, you go help me. Car broke down, go fix it, go schlep it, go tow it, go something. But the Gemara says, Imoy, only if he toils, if he tries, you help him together with him. Why does Ozav Taziv? The way I understand, I remember, I'm sure 100 people say it, but I don't know who I heard it from or the Eibishter gave it to me. Ozav means bygones are bygones. Let that grudge go. Let it go. Don't karma. Loisitor. Don't be happy with the with he fell down, go help him. Now, why? Why? What is the takeaway from Aseret Adibris? What does Hashem want from his nation? You go to any professional doctor. If you want a license, anybody walks in, zero tolerance on discrimination. If you say, I don't heal you because you're whatever, I'll give you a good word to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. It's unfortunate. It's ouch. It's nasty. But if Reb Chaim Kanievsky said it, they asked him, they're professionals. And a machabel, a terrorist, goes and tries to kill, and he kills women and children, chas v'shalom. And they shot him. So he's almost dying. Somebody tried to stop him. He wanted to kill many more people. So he's goises. He's got, and there's other people that were shot by him, by the terrorists. So the medical spewed for cup. Evil. No other word. I can't find another word. Evil values is whoever is the most ill, whoever is the most desperate, that's the patient you treat first. So this guy's gois is almost dying. In a few seconds, he'll die. And the people that he shot, the women and children, the innocent people, they're less, they're also in critical condition, but less critical than he is. So the halacha of the skewed, immoral world says you have to treat the terrorists before the ambulance that treat terrorists for. That's Reb Chaim Kanievsky. What do you do? There's a concept that you have to treat the most ill first. He says they're right. You got to treat him first. Give him another in his head, and then go treat the other ones. If you know what I mean. You know, just don't bother. Just get him quicker to Shemayim. To have his Yom Adin with Eibishter, sort of. But the point is, that's a professional, even the non-Jews, skewed, fadreta, evil approach to medicine. Evil approach to medicine. You have to deal with, you have to treat the terrorists before the people you try to kill. Even that understands that you can't discriminate on any patient. I don't care which nationality, whatever it is. You have to heal them. You have to treat them, and so on. When you come to a Yid, you cannot differentiate between this and that. You got to treat everybody. But I hate him. Why do you hate him? You're not allowed to hate somebody. No, because Hashem hates him. Why does Hashem hate him? He went against Hashem. And Hashem says, nevertheless, go treat him. So there's one thing, he doesn't have Yoshita and he's a terrible person. But when it comes to healing and it comes to helping out, help out without any discrimination. That's Oyivcha and Soinacha. Now, what's the nafkamina between Soinacha and Oyivcha? The nafkamina is that Soinacha is somebody that's outward, you hate him. Oyivcha or Oivecha is somebody inside. What's Oivecha? Oivecha is somebody that when you see him, he smiles, he makes as if he's your best friend. Or at least, Parav, but for sure not an enemy. But behind your back, Ochave, he would like to bury. So this guy goes and finds a Aveda. The boss is not there. So nobody sees. So he can do whatever he wants. So he can take Nikama. And the Torah says, no, I'm watching. Hoshev Tishuvenu, give it back. But now it comes, Kisida, you see, Chamor Soinacho, your open enemy. Roivitz Tachas Masoi, he's lying under his Masoi, his burden. He's got a weight, he fell, he's got a flat with all the, and you don't want to help him. Chadaltem Azal, Ozav Tazav, let it go. Let it go. Hashem says, I'm watching. Let it go, and I'll help you out in ways you never understood, you never imagined. You need a Yeshua. That's the time. Go out of your way for Yenim. I'll go out of my way for you, Rabbi Shalom says. It says over here, Loisata Mishpatim Kabiriva, Midvasha Ketir, Tzadi Alter, Kaletz the Grosha, Lefoicha Loisika Chashiva. Don't, kids said no bribery, no lying, and justice, right? And also again, Vatim Datim Esnef Shagir. Though you were slaves in Egypt, you know, it feels like to be Eved. I'm telling you before it cools off. Remember, don't be so haughty. Don't be so arrogant. Though now you treat people, you were Eved. You remember how it feels like. Treat strangers like you would want to be treated. Okay, so now you need justice. I want to give a little Maisa. Maybe I said it on the shurim, maybe I didn't, maybe I said it off the shurim. But remember that little story. Anybody likes a little math for a second? There were the this many hundreds of years ago. This story. There was two people traveling, and one guy had 3 loaves of bread left, or big rolls or whatever it is, and the other guy had two. And the third guy, joined in, and the third guy uh, said, maybe if I have money, but I don't have food. If I was taking the money without food, I'll pay you tablet kill, I'll pay you very well. But if you share with me, okay. So they sat down and they shared their 5 loaves of bread. How are they going to share it? So they took this 5 pieces and the 3 guys. How are you going to share it? So they decided to take every roll and cut it into 3 parts. So if 5 rolls times 3 is 15 parts, 15 like bulkalach. And the 15 bulkalach, 5 each, 5 for one guy, 5 for another guy, 5 for the third guy. So now he comes to pay and he's saying, how much do I owe you? So one guy says, well, the guy of the 3 says, well, there was 5 loaves, 3 were mine. So you owe me 3. And the other guy says, and him too, because he had 2 loaves. I gave you for my 3 loaves, give me 3 gold coins, he probably, money. And the other guy give me 2. The other guy says, no. Basically, it was one chadgadia, one geschäft together. We ate together, so it's a half and half. That's it. I gave and you gave. You counted exactly how much, what, where, when. So they went to the rabbi, and the rabbi said, 1 second. So you divide it into 3. So you have 15 parts, let's say. If the 15 parts, everybody eats 5 rolls, let's say, 5 slices. Let's say 15 slices, 5 slices. So everybody eats 5 slices. The first guy had 3 rolls. So if you divide the roll into 3 slices, so he eats 5 slices, and the other guy. So he had 3 rolls. You cut into 3. 3 rolls times 3 slices is 9 slices. How much did he eat out of the 9 slices? He ate 5. How much did he give away? He gave 4 to that third guy. So remember the number 4. He gave away 4. The other guy had 2. You divide those 2 into 3 slices. 3 slices per 3 slices, 6 slices. How much did he eat? 5 slices. How much did he give away? 1. So he gets 4 dinarim and he gets only 1. That's bishovat. You need somebody thinking. You need somebody, to come out with just. Now both of them didn't think of this scheme, but the rabbi came and this is the only fair way. Okay, I just want to. It's late. I didn't want to go so long, but I just want to go noch a bissel. we get to learn in Mishpatim the in Pesach Talvasami in the Chalamoid Pesach we learn this because it has about Yom Tov, about the Yom Tovim and so Shalosh Regalim, and it finishes off Lo Sivashel Gedi B'Chalev Imoy. What's that Lo Sivashel Gedi B'Chalev Imoy? The Torah says Reish is Bikurad Moscha Tavi Beis Hashem Lekecha. The first of the ripened first fruits of your land, Tovi, bring a Beis to the house of Hashem, to the Beis Mikdash. But don't forget, don't forget that don't cook the goat in its milk's mother. So the Gemara learns from it. It says it's three times. So there's Isser cooking, there's Isser eating, there's Isser having a no, right? What's the shaykhs about the firstborn, first fruits, and basar v'chalav? So first of all, it's a thing of rachamim. You go to the mother, and you take away its baby, and you take the mother's milk to cook its own very own baby in the mother's milk. That's such riches for the mother. That's evil. Where's your feeling? How could you do that? And the Torah says, don't do that. We have to be moral people. Yeah, the milk doesn't know the moral people as much as you can. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but you got to be moral. Getting back to what's the shaykhs. So the Vilna Gaon sort of supposedly used to read Sfarim, I don't know, toilet, whatever, about physics and about nature and so on. So he reads a book about nature, and it says over there that if you take milk and with meat and you cook it together and you pour that soup of the meat with the milk by the plant, by the tree, the fruits come out very delicious and something sumptuous. It's very special. So sort of beneficial for the tree. So the Vilna Gaon says, now I thought why it says in the Torah, the first fruits of the tree, right, of the season, bring it to the house, and don't mix it. Why? Because also mixing meat and dairy is also. So therefore, why? Because meat is itself, meat you can only eat from an animal when it's dead. Right? You're not allowed to eat even you're not allowed to eat while it's alive. You're not allowed to cut off a rib steak from a cow. Milk is only when it's alive it produces milk. Don't mix death and life together. Milk is a source of life, and meat, and you can only produce milk when it's alive, and basa you can only eat after it's dead. So don't mix together. So the point of here is that the Vilna Gaon couldn't learn the Sfarim in the toilet because how he tried, he ended up with a vort in the toilet. He came up shutting the posix. He said, "Forget it. it ain't working well. This thing. Reading the physics and nature because he's ending up with shutting the posik in the toilet. So he dropped that idea of reading those books. The kids, getting back to Vavadatem, the Torah finishes this topic over here. I'm sending malachim to protect you, and the kids, he's going to do away with old enemies. And the Torah says, "Vavadtem es Hashem Elokechem." You'll serve Hashem, your God. Uveirach eslach b'cha b'smemecha. He'll bless your bread and your water. It's also livelihood. It's all in all. I'll take away machla, the sickness from within you. Now, the difference between Hashem's taking away the sickness, he doesn't allow it to come to begin with. Not that he treats the symptoms. So this is going to, I'm going to jump back 1 second, but before, let me just finish over here. It's Lashon Rabbim. The Gemara says, "Vavadtim is avodah shebelev aviyim is tefillah." When you daven, you need the tzibur. That's why it's Lashon. One of the terutzim that I like. That Vavadtim, you serve Hashem. How are you going to serve Hashem? By davening b'tzibur. That's what Lashon Rabbim. Uveirach eslachmucha v'esmeimecha. And I'm going to avenge your livelihood and your panosa and your food and health. That's already personal. In other words, everybody gets in order according to their capacity. It starts off that you need tefillah b'tzibur. It's much more powerful when you're part of the corporate account, when you're the group account, and you're coming together with everybody brings what the other guy doesn't have, complement each other. So it's an Indian of Shalom Shalom larochik v'lakorev Omer Hashem ulef osif. If the Shalom larochik v'lakorev, Hashem says ulef osif, I'll heal you. In other words, there's a innate koyach in the tzibur itself. When you come to Hashem, you show that you're together, and Hashem says, "Okay, okay, I'm gonna not only I'm gonna heal you, but I'll take it away the machla to begin with." That's the word of it. Okay, it doesn't mean, or here it means that he'll take it away once it's there. You don't have to take it away if it's not there. But in last week's part, b'shalach ki ani Hashem reifecha, Hashem can avoid the machla to begin with, not treat the symptoms. That brings me to Virapa Yirape. What's Virapa Yirape? Virapa Yirape is every time you go to a doctor and he's done. No, he tells you come back. So he can charge the insurance another time for another visit. That's a shalom. But many times you have to come back again and again with doctors. We ask Hashem to heal us. In other words, there is a yisoid over here that although Hashem gives reshus to heal, but he wants you to cry out to him. He wants you to connect to him. You're missing a connection in one of the organs, in one of the arteries, and he wants to connect. And as long as you're not going to connect, he's going to give you the same nisoyin ever again and again. I'll run away from this job to the next job. I'll run away from this wife, husband to the next one. Yeah, you think you're going to get rid of that? No, he'll give you the same nisoyin in every job, in every kehillah, in every place you go. You're going to have the same until you don't come in terms of, if you don't work out the issues and you don't heal yourself and you don't build your muscles and you don't fulfill your mission, you're going to get those same nisyonis again and again. So Hashem says that's not where it's about. You want to go, you want to run away to doctors, alternative. Okay, v'rapi rapi, you're going to have to run again and again, twice, not once. But with Hashem's way is the way that if you fulfill his mission and your mission, in other words, his extension, your personal and collective mission, so it starts off, you daven in together with the oilam is a lot more powerful. And it's of everybody else, but ultimately you get according to your capacity. If you can't handle more bracha, you're not going to get more bracha. You got to open your heart. That's the voidah shebetfilah. You open your heart more and more, and then the ashpoyas, the goodness flows in, the blessing flows in. That's going to bring me to the next topic, and that's hopefully the last topic for today, which is the Nasav and Ishma. When there's peace, when there's achdus, there's Nasav and Ishma. What's Nasav and Ishma? What is Nasav and Ishma? What's the ultimate Nasav? So the Torah says, if you go to Vischanan, you see the default. Vischanan is Vishamanu Vasinu. We first hear and then we do. That's the default. That's the way it's supposed to be. But over here, it didn't work that way. It's Nasav and Ishma. Why? Why would they do Nasav and Ishma? What was so important to do Nasav before Nishma? In other words, to commit before you know what you're committing to. What does it entail? What's the key thing that you're taking away? And the question we asked at the beginning, why do you have to wait all the way to the end of Mishpatim to give this message? Nasav, say it in Yisro, Nasav and Ishma. The word is, after this teaching, the takeaway of Mishpatim, you can get to Nasav and Ishma. Now, let me try to explain for a second. I'm going to veer off for a second about Shkolim, and it's going to give the same message. Shabbos Shkolim, what's Shabbos Shkolim? Be'echad ba'adam hashmim el Shkolim, right? When do you gather? You gather on Shabbos. Amol, they worked in the fields and so on, the farmers and everything, they worked the land, agriculture, they came Shabbos together. There was no work, so everybody should be able to come together. And you come together and they call out that at the beginning of Adar, this month, you have this month to bring for the Bedek Abayis and also for the Karbanis and everything else, a shekel, half a shekel. So the first Shabbos of the month, or Rosh Chodesh falls on Shabbos, or the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh. So by the time the first of the month, you should have the ample time to gather your machzor. How much is a machzor shekel? About $18. High. So you have to find that money. Not everybody has that money. So you have the rich guy, for him it's no big deal. For the poor person, it's very difficult, but you get $18. So for that person, you have to give me enough time to prepare to put that together. So you have the machzor. What's the machzor shekel? It's only varosh, the person that's so poor and downtrodden, together with the Grois Segvir, get together in front of Hashem and they say, I'm not better than you. I can't give more than a machzor shekel, and that guy can't give less than a machzor shekel. We're both equally invested in the karbonis. What are the karbonis? The karbonis is a kapara. Every Jew participates in the machzor shekel, and every Jew gives that machzor shekel, buys the karbonis, the sacrifices. So every Jew, the sacrifice that the sacrifice is um sort of, it's, I'm sacrificing my behamistic, my animalistic part of me. I'm sacrificing every day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and that the first carbon, the last carbon, and everything in between, whatever is brought. So the point is that the person by the carbonis, the tefillah is connected to carbonis, right? If the tefillah is connected to carbonis, so it's when you're davening this Shabbos shkolim, and it's calling out the pain. In other words, the even Steven, we're all in it together. Nobody's better than the other one. We're all the people that are Eved Ivri, and the people who are the masters, they all get together and give a half a shekel. The people that's sort of successful in life, klumpish, supposedly, and the people who aren't successful come in, and there's achtis, because I can't be better than you in front of Hashem. I have my mission and you have your mission. Everybody is chosen for something else and elsewhere. And for this moment, for that moment, everybody's chosen, but chosen for their mission in life. And we all come together before Hashem as equal, not equal in value, but equal that we have a mission, we're chosen for something. And when we put in the same amount into the ultimate Bedek Abayis and the Karbonis of the people, that gives us this Achtis thing that puts us sort of into place, that puts our life in perspective. Don't be haughty. You're haughty, you lose Hashem and Ganzen. Okay, so getting to that, you have last week's Parsha. So you have last week's Parsha here. In Yisrael, it says the following. Vayanu cholom yachtav, the whole nation said together, answered together, and they said, whatever Hashem says, we will do. Commitment, right? This week, similar. It says, Vayan kolom, the whole nation answered, one voice, everything Hashem says, we're going to do. And then Moshe writes, everything Hashem said, and he woke up in the morning, and he built the Mizbeach, 12 matzevas, and so on, so for the 12 tribes, and so on. And he does the karbonis and everything, and then Vayikra Bozne he calls out in the ears of the nation, Vayoimru, Vayikach Sefer Briz Vayikra Bozne, Vayoimru, and they said, as a response, Koil Ashadib Hashem Naase V'Nishma. It doesn't say Yachtov. So the Mefarshim want to say that there's two ways how to fulfill the Torah. One was Yachtov, Arevis, everybody taking upon each other. In other words, what the Kohen can't do, what we can do, we can't do what the Kohen can do, Levi and so on, men and women, vice versa. So, but if we whatever I don't have, I always like to use this mashal. Chassidim come to Malava Malka. Everybody brings leftover from the house to the shtibel. That's the Easter Mulligat. He brought a piece of challah leftover. He brought a stickel fish, a stickel that, whatever they had, and they made out Malava Malka. You bring whatever you have, and everybody brings what the other guy didn't bring, and together you put something together. So it's Yachtav is when we're all one in it together. That's the way it's considered. We all fulfilled all the mitzvahs. The second way is Nasa v'nishma. That's Nasa. We're all together. Nishma is the word Nishma is we should understand. So nishma is going to be we have to learn it. We're going to learn it, and if you learn something, Shalom Panos is saying, when you learn something, you want it so badly. If you want something so badly and you yearn for it, see, because you're trying to learn it and imagine it and yearn for it, so Hashem says kilu krafta, as if you brought the sacrifice where you learn about it. And when you can't do mitzvahs because you're not a kohen and so on, as if you did the mitzvahs. If you can't do kibbutz because Chas v'shalom, they don't have parents, as if you did kibbutz, and so on and so forth. So over here you have the two lessons. First of all, achtas, that's the first way to fulfill all the mitzvahs, yachtov, together, or koil echad, one voice, and the other one is nasa v'nishma, we're going to learn it. If you learn it, as if you kept it. So the kasha is nasa v'nishma, you sing it nasa v'nishma, but it's like, how could you say for me? Everybody screams, "We will do." Ask me. What do you say? What are you answering for me? And I'm answering for you. How can I say? I can say for myself, Nas, I'm committed. And I say you're committed. We're all committed. So the Pashto Pshat is that it was so overwhelming with all the nisim and all the flaws, everything Hashem did. You could not say anything else. We were so sure, so committed, so certain that everybody wants it. How could you not want it? It's so geschmack. Okay, but I want to give a little neufach, and then I'll give the punchline. Nasa v'nishma, we said everybody together. We all believe that. How could you not want that? How could you not be devoted after what he did for you? He proved it to you thousands of times. How could you not? What are you going to go to the shoemaker? Who are you going to go to? But I'm saying the shoemaker versus the surgeon. They both sew leather. I mean, skin. You're going to go to the? Of course not. So what is the alternative? I mean, what's the shaila? The word is nasav and ishma. We can say together. We're all together. How much Torah each person gets, that depends how thirsty he is for that Torah, how his mind and heart are worked out, how much you open your heart to Hashem. In other words, lefi your asogas, lefi according to your capacity. Everybody gets different. Everybody gets according to their capacity. You can daven for more, but more than davening for more, you should work on opening your heart for more. So say Hashem, for lemancha, I want to help out other people. If you can give me access to it so I can be more beneficial, you'll make me very happy. I'll be the happiest client. So that now the punchline. Why Nasa v'nishma all the way to the end of Mishpatim? Because what means Nasa v'nishma? It means one word, one expression, unconditional love. The word unconditional, that's Nasa v'nishma. Anything else, if it's worthy, not worthy, unconditional love, that's Nasa v'nishma. That's the punchline of the takeaway of the whole Mishpat, unconditional love. And when you have unconditional love, so why wait after Mishpatim? Because before Mishpatim, what's Mishpatim? Mishpatim are logical, civilized rules that we can live in harmony together, peacefully together, as one together, without stealing, robbing, hurting each other. But if you go and see, it's not a Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm not going to teach them the reason. Why doesn't he want to teach them the reason? So Rashi says, Hashem says, set it up for them, k'shulchan aruch, like a shulchan aruch. Why wouldn't you want to give them the reason? Moshe Rabbeinu says, then they're going to do it because of the reason, because it's kedai, it's worthwhile. Because it's worthy for me to do it, because I'll be more civilized and live more with peace and harmony and tranquility. But that's not the reason why we do things. We don't do chesed because it makes me feel good. We don't do mitzvahs or anything because it makes us feel good. We do it because we're extension of Hashem, and Hashem wants us to do that. That's the ultimate thing. That's why you don't hurt somebody. That's why you don't steal from Yenim. That's why you don't make fun of and belittle somebody else. The whole kavod enushi, the whole respect of a person, of a human being, is because he carries Hashem. and for only for that reason. When you have that reason, there's no Holocaust. No Holocaust find a place in this sphere, in this universe. It's because people make up that they're not loyal to Hashem. They don't have unconditional love. It's verstehe ich, verstehe nicht. So choik, it's not a chachma. You don't understand. When you do understand, and after you understand, and you do it anyway because of Hashem, not because you understand, not because it makes you feel good, not because it makes you feel righteous and benevolent, and you're better than somebody else, not because of that. Partially because Hashem wants me to do that. That's a chachma after you know reason, after you know rhyme and reason, not before you know rhyme and reason. So Hashem says, tell it to them, and tell them what you told them, and there should be unconditional love in spite of that. And that's the ultimate nasa v'nishma after Mishpatim, not Yisro. Just want to finish with a little story that I said about my uncle. I think I said in the shurim, but it's worth $1,000,000. He was a very emotional person. He taught me how to daven and lane. Very special person. He was a professional about tefillah, about kodah. He used to teach bar mitzvahs and all that stuff. He raised two wonderful sons, Reb Zev Bold and Reb Yitzi Bold. They're both big mechanchim and mashpiyim and leaders in Klal Yisrael. Everybody, both of them in their own way. He came back after the levaya of his parents. The way I remember that it was after his father, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe after his mother, I don't remember. That's what I remember. His father. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. And he asked to drive somebody that took him a ride. He asked him to drop him off at the corner, and his knees he used to have pain in his knees. He couldn't walk. For him to walk the half a block to his house was an ordeal. He did it Shabbos and Yom Tov, but otherwise, So the guy was surprised. Why do you want him to stop? You never stop at the corner. He said, So he dropped him off. He goes knocking on the door, the first door. He knocks on the door, and he just came back of the levaya, and he starts crying like mama, like never before. And he grabs a hold of that man, and he hugs him and tells him in his ear. He said, I had no idea. I can never imagine. I thought I understood. I thought I felt it. I nested tug. Nothing. Finally, now I understand your pain. I have such an emptiness in my heart now because he lost his close parent. He says it's so painful. It's so lonely. It's so empty. It's so deep. It's so deep. It's so deep. Now I understand how you feel 1,000 times every day when your house is totally empty. No babies, no crying babies, no beautiful voice of a smiling baby. Now I know how empty it feels like. And he cried and he cried and he cried and he said, I vinci with all this pain that I'm going through, I'm enduring right now, I vinci that you should have a brach and shtub, a blessing in your house this very year, a ben zacher, a healthy boy. And guess what? 9 months later, they had a boy. No Rebbe, auditor from the World Trade Center, a durchgewegte Hasidische Geschmacke Yid. He didn't have a beard. But anytime you spoke to him, this word, that shot, he had a lot of pshatim, he had a lot of. Oh, let me share one of them. Yitzi, his son, Rabbi Yitzi told me yesterday on the phone. He said, "B'shvili nivra olam, b'shvil, shvil is a shvil. Everybody has its own approach. Everybody has its own way to come to Hashem, to come to Yerushalayim, Beis Hamikdash. Everybody has their own path. Everybody has to know b'shvili nivra. I have to focus on my path. I can't live Yenim's life. I can't compare to anybody else. Compare yourself to yourself of yesterday." That was his pshat b'shvili. He had a lot of such pshat, beautiful pshat. You spoke to him. He cared about shurim. He cared about chesed. He cared about everything. Mechazik atzveita. A Yid that cares about Yenim, that doesn't want to hurt anybody, doesn't want to embarrass anybody. That's the takeaway. Just like if a professional understands no discrimination, a Yid has to understand it more than anything else. Unconditional love to the Eibishter and to his children, as much as your capacity, as much as you understand, but it's got to be without discrimination. Mamleches koinim v'goy kodesh means you took on a profession. You took on a being that has to be tolerant of. I don't have to live with him. I don't have to prove what he or she does. But there has to be a certain unconditional love to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and it starts with how do you see it? How do you treat the Eved Ivri? That's how you know. You try to bring him covet, and you try to bring him respect. You train him. You care about the lost ones. Hashem says, you're the only one who understood Har Sinai. Har Sinai is the humbleness of Har Sinai. Thank you very much.